Hello friends, and welcome to this, yet another episode of Jane Bloodborne's House of Eyeballs. And oh wow, someone's hosting my stream. Is it... I've read it multiple times in the last week. Is it Nate? Or Nat? Because it's spelt Nat on Twitter, and it's like Natalite dish, but I'm sure I read somewhere that it's Nate. But anyway, thank you so much, and thank you for turning up to the stream. Thank you everyone for turning up to the stream. If you missed last week's stream, you may see that we've got some cool new attire. Okay, Nat, cool. Nat works. But yeah, we've got some cool new attire. We're dressed all funky like. In fact, like as though we were one of the Canhurst Vilebloods themselves. But if you did catch us last week, you saw us die quite a few times in pursuit of the head of our friend Marty Logarius, who is up there somewhere. Now, in between now and then, some things have changed. First thing you'll probably notice is that I've got more blood vials, so that's good. I've also got a lot more health. I've got a much bigger health bar. So our ace in the hole is having a bigger health bar and many more blood vials, but actually, those are child's play small fry compared to the other advantage I have over this boss, which is I was looking through my clothes just earlier today, and I happened to be looking at the arcane defense stat on my gear, and it's pretty low, and it turns out that all of Marty's big angry screamy skull attacks are they're all arcane based, so they're doing a lot of damage to our actually fairly meager arcane defense stat. But I was browsing through my fat loot, and I happened to see not only does the White Church hat have 60 arcane resist, but all of these items have a whopping 110, and basically a lot more. So actually, though it makes us slightly less fashionable for a brief period of time, we're very, very resilient to the screamy skull attacks, which is exactly what we're looking for in this environment, as it turns out. Not only that, but after some practice with the boss, I managed to develop a slightly more proactive strategy than just trying to backstab that big arcane sphere wind-up. So we're going to give that a bit of a go. I don't know if any of you all saw, but I tweeted out a picture of me getting super close to killing this boss earlier, so hopefully it doesn't take too long. Also in my research, I found that it is technically possible to make the run to the boss without taking any damage. However, technical is the operative word there, such that we're not even going to try, because it's so much effort and requires like a one-frame jump onto a little like spike bit. Oh no, that's really bad. Oh, that's really bad. Well, this is a wash. Let's try and ascend this ladder better this time. But yeah, it requires a very, very precise jump onto an outcrop that I just don't want to bother with, so I think I'll just accept that I have to heal on the way there. Because the other benefit to significantly increasing our health is not only do we survive more attacks from Marty, but our blood vials go a lot further, because I believe, unlike Estus Flasks from the original Dark Souls, blood vials will always heal percentage health, which means that the more health you have, the more your blood vials do for you. See that? That was actually a waste, because, see, this is the full damage that I take pretty much every time. While running this lots and lots of times over the last week, I found that you can, if you're feeling particularly bold, land on this like spike here, and if you stand on, you see that little flat bit at the top, if you land on that, you take no full damage. However, if you go slightly to the right, you do take the full damage, and if you go slightly to the left, you die instantly. So we're just not going to bother. But yes, our more proactive strategy involves basically getting all the way up in Marty's grill, and try and visceral attack as often as we can with our pistol, because it turns out that the closer we are to Logarius, the more likely he is to do his scythe attacks, which are really, really, really easy to parry with our gun. Not only that, but when he charges up to enter the second stage of his fight, we get to use our super active backstab to actually cancel him out of it, which robs him of some of the benefits of going to the second phase. So, with all of that said, let's give it a go. So yeah, I'm not going to purposefully get hit or anything, but if we get hit by another one of these arcane bursts, you should see what a difference these clothes make to our defense. See, that would probably have killed us instantly before. Oh, well, that's embarrassing. Sadly, they don't actually make clothes that inure you to falling off of roofs. Another thing, another cool thing, is that our leveling up vitality has increased our blood level quite a lot, our overall level, and it turns out that in addition to skill, your overall level is the primary stat that determines your visceral attack damage, which means our visceral attacks are doing, I think, close to twice as much damage as they were doing last time, which is really, really good if we're trying to parry Logarius a lot more. So basically, I have significantly higher hopes for our doing of this fight this time than I did last time. I believe in us. I believe in Jane Bloodborne. Ooh. Yeah, we're just not going to bother with this. Just going to scuttle up this ladder. Now that's just rude. So yeah, wait until as late as possible to use our first blood vial. Not that it matters, I think we're unlikely to run out with 24. In fact, so I'm using, I've memorized some Carol runes to allow me to carry more blood vials, but that's really just a precautionary measure to make sure I don't run out. Chances are, as soon as we get better ones, I will switch them out, because currently these communion runes, because as we know, blood administration is communion, partaking of communion. But yeah, so far these runes are pretty much the only ones I have. The rest are just buff stats that we don't use, or give us I think it's a 2% increase to stamina, which is slightly less than I'm looking for. Okay. Let's try that again. Another thing that is going to form a linchpin of this fight is dodging to the left, because his... see, look at that. That's 1 vial of damage. It was more than 2 last time. But yeah, dodging to the left is really good against Logarius, because his main reaction to being walked up on is to cast a skull out to his right side, like that. Or, my right. And dodging to the left gives you invulnerability frames in exactly the right place that it pretty much never hits you, regardless of where he decides to pop it. Which is great. I love that. Ow, rude. See, look at how much more often we're attacking. This is much better. I'm not just trying and failing to read attack animations and taking a load of damage. See, look at that. loads of damage on a visceral attack. Ugh. See, look at that. It would have taken me the whole fight to do this much damage last time. Okay, so now he's probably going to try and go to his second form. Oh no. Guess not. Okay, he's just not going to bother going to his second form. That's unusual. Oh, he's gone to his second form? What are you doing, Logarius? Sort it out. So, remembering to shoot that sword as soon as he launches it every time. Because it just makes the game unplayable for us. Okay, that's very active. Ugh. Ow. Oh no. Whoop. Uh-oh. Come on, we can do this. Ah! Whoop. See, that's a thing that's going to happen to me a lot if this fight goes on much longer, is we will trade with his attack with our parry and not get up in time to visceral. Which is sad, and happens quite a lot. Uh-oh, that's really bad. Ah, there we go. That was dramatic. I like that a lot. So, yeah, slightly better luck that time than we had before. It looks like we have indeed martyred Logarius, although, come on, it's Marty, not Martyr. We have martyred Marty Logarius. Good for us. And yes, thank you. Thank you, Dini, for identifying that we ended on a flunge. Ending on a flunge is always how you want to do it. So that was Marty Logarius. Marty Logarius is an interesting character. So we haven't heard too much about Marty Logarius, except one character has mentioned him before, and it's Alfred, the character I have been intentionally avoiding all this time. So we're actually going to go and have a bit of a chat with Alfred in a bit, potentially on the topic of Marty Logarius. But it's worthy of note that we found him frozen to the roof of the Vileblood Castle. Now, had we had those conversations with Alfred, he would have taught us that Logarius was well known for leading a group of people known as the Executioners. Now, the Executioners were a group of healing church zealots whose duty it was to execute the enemies of the church, people that the church had deemed unclean or otherwise impure. And the Canhurst Vilebloods were some of these people. Now, what Alfred doesn't tell you, because legions of zealots are not often forthcoming with this information about themselves, is that the executioners were brutal. They not only believed in martyrdom of the self in service to the purity of their ideas, but also in utter brutalization of the people that they targeted. And we will find out the form that brutalization took as is. Eventually we will find that. Oh my gosh, some bits from Claire. Thank you so much. So we'll find out the sort of the extent of that brutality shortly. But for now, it's worthy of note that Logarius was not only a member of these executioners, he led these executioners. A group of people who brutally sought to destroy the enemies of the church, of whom the Vilebloods were some. And yet, here he is, frozen to the roof of their castle. Now, we find the Crown of Illusions, which was the crown that Logarius was wearing as he was frozen to his throne. And what could this crown mean? We're going to get changed, because that's long enough without our knight's clothes. But we are going to put on the Crown of Illusions. We've lit this lamp, and something interesting is going to happen. Oh my gosh, Will's made a stream fan art. I wish I could open that on stream, but my stream layout is very poor at the moment. Maybe once the stream ends, I'll dig it out and show the audience for posterity. But yeah, we get a big maelstrom of snow, and what should we find but almost a whole nother castle, or like a keep-like structure that was hidden to us before. And sure enough, we find that the Crown of Illusions is one of the precious secrets of Canhurst, said to reveal illusions and expose a mirage that hides a secret. So Logarius donned the crown of his own volition, determined to prevent a single soul from stumbling upon the vile secret. But what visions did he see, sitting serenely upon his new throne? What indeed? Now again, we get a lot more of this this classical royalist knight-like imagery, like these horse armor. See, on disc horse armor. We didn't need it as DLC. Awesome. That joke was from 2008. So having conquered this castle, having slaughtered its inhabitants, Logarius found the throne room, his throne room. And here we have a woman who claims no subjects, but yet sits upon a throne hidden by Logarius. And this lady before whom we shall kneel. Now, any of you who have any idea about the contents of our build suggestion and the weapons I've been talking about will know that I'm absolutely swearing oath to the Vilebloods. So, now, we are a Canhurst Vileblood. We are one of the 2 Canhurst Vilebloods. So we've pledged allegiance to Queen Annalise of the Vilebloods, and now we're a Vileblood. So, I actually really like this crown and might wear it for the rest of the game. But, so, Queen Annalise, self-proclaimed the last of the Vilebloods, now the last of the 2 Vilebloods, was being hidden here by Logarius, a man sworn to destroy and purge the enemies of the Healing Church, of which the Vilebloods were the chief one. Now, why the Vilebloods were one of the chief enemies of the Healing Church is actually not a particularly complicated matter, but the sort of the history and I guess power relations involving the Vilebloods and the Vilebloods and the Healing Church is something that we'll have to explore sort of gradually and kind of by implication, because Annalise herself is not particularly forthcoming with the history of her people. So we're going to take this on open summons, because one of the main ways in which we're going to find out... One of the main ways in which we're going to find out about the Vilebloods and about the ways in which the Vilebloods relate to the Healing Church is through an interaction with our friend Alfred. I'm definitely going to keep this crown on for the rest of the game, by the way, just so you'll know. And if I'm not mistaken, when we saw Alfred last, he was in the Cathedral Ward, and that's where we're going to go. But first, the moment you've all been waiting for, we are going to go back to the Hunter's Dream, and we are going to buy the weapon that brought us here. Finally, all of this time fighting Logarius, unbelievably early, has paid off, and not immediately, but soon we'll have our new weapon. Because our new weapon, now afforded us by the Canhurst badge, is... Oh, there's Evelyn. Afforded us by the Canhurst badge is here. It is the Chicago. A foreign-made weapon wielded by the royal guards who protect Annalise, Queen of the Vilebloods. That's us! So an intricate rippled engraving that spans the Chicago's blade, imbrued with blood, the sword sings in scarlet hues. So we don't currently have enough echoes, but we can get them pretty quick. We're just going to smash all of this cold blood that we have. How much is one? Okay. We might have to smash a little more than I thought, but that's okay. We'll get there. There we go. And behold, it is ours. I can't actually equip it yet because I need more blood tinge than I have, but it's coming. It's coming. Over the course of this stream, any souls I collect will... any souls I collect will be funneled into now leveling up blood tinge, so we can get this weapon going and get this playthrough popping off. So this is really good actually, because I did not know how many tries Logarius was going to take us, so I'm glad it only took us a few, because it means we get to do other fun things with this stream. It means that we can finally move on. Here's the door. Can we smash the rest of this cold blood? Can we get a level out of smashing the rest of this cold blood? Let's find out. Yeah, easy. All blood tinge all the time, baby. One thing we can also do while we're here is smash the rest of our cold blood because it's tiny. I think. Yeah, it's pretty small. Someone in the chat is talking about whether I got Evelyn from the chest in the castle. So I didn't actually physically get it, but I know where it is, and I'm going to go and get it at some point. I'm probably not going to wander around for it. Maybe at like the very end of this stream I'll go get it, or something, when I'm wanting for something to do. But yeah, for now we're going to fortify this Chicago as much as we can, because while grinding levels to get to this state, we obtained some number of bloodstone shards. So I think it's just chunks that we need now. Yeah, we need 2 chunks, and then the Chicago will be exactly where it needs to be. But yes, so already this is a lot of damage, right? So this is the way. I mean, obviously, like the thing about the Blades of Mercy is that they attack very quickly. But the way that the damage system in this game works is that the 2 damage stats, like if a weapon has 2 damage stats with numbers in them, that means it's applying both of those kinds of damage at the same time, or it at least can in different ways. And the way that the Chicago works is that it applies blood damage when you transform it. It also siphons your health. It's very exciting, fun, and dynamic, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. But yes. Okay, so for now, there's a couple of things that I'm going to clear up. We're going to go and have a chat with Alfred. We're also going to go have a quick little trip back to the Hypogean jail, because there's some pretty interesting stuff here that I didn't catch on my first time around, because everything here was very strong. But I studied the blade. I learned to fight these things, because I actually just straight up didn't know that you had a running, fierce attack with each weapon. But you do, and it's awesome. Not only that, but for all my time using this weapon, I had completely forgotten that a transformed trick weapon gains an ability on the weapon fire button, which is this, which is, well, not only is it a cool as heck animation, but it has a built-in backdash, which is my favourite thing. Look at that. Cool as heck. So yeah, these bagmans, they string, they do a big punch, but luckily we are stronger. Ugh, rude. You know, excited as I am about the Chicago, I think I'm going to miss this weapon quite a lot, and as such, I think it's only fair we give it a swan song of cool dancey moves. So yeah, the last time we were here, we were very much focused on how it related to our, at the time, limited understanding of the nature of Yharnam, right? We spent a long time looking at this this shrine here to whatever those things are. We don't really know much about them. But yeah, everything else here was too strong for me to really do much exploring. But actually, I really like the combat design in this area. Like, you know, you have these big enemies with very long reach that do big damage that you have to like dance and dodge around, and then you have this enemy here which will grab you and, you know, chisel your head open, take all of your eyeballs, and then you have these pig friends who are like, they hit you like a truck, like they're so fast. But like any good monster enemy in Bloodborne, you can well, if you're better than me, you can visceral attack them by getting them right in the booty, and it's cool. I like it a lot. So then you mix that and the aforementioned bagmans with, well, there's another pig up here. So you mix our pig friend up here with a load of wolves over there. So if you run ahead, you get caught between the super fast charge of this pig, like I almost was, and the dogs that are just up ahead. Like if I go over here, suddenly this is a fight moving at 3 different speeds, and it's super dynamic and cool. Obviously, Soulsborne being what it is, you know you want to kite them separately and divide and conquer to as much as you can, but you're not always able to. I just think that was really cool. So yeah, get some more dogs. So one of the things we come down here for is that item there, which this bagman and these two dogs are kind of just looking at. So we're going to give them a piece of our mind. Ooh, that was not a running attack. And now these dogs are interested. Ah, heck. Oh no. Oh. Yep. That was bad. Yeah, those bagmans have a very, very long jumping, like, punch attack. That is it's very good. It has that that very like fine tracking that I mentioned that some of the Cathedral Ward enemies in this game have. It makes fighting them kind of fiddly, but. However, a side effect of this, coming here for this stuff, is that these enemies sure do give a lot of souls. No! Oh. As long as I don't die, that is. Oh no, it's all gone wrong. Oh, it's gone so wrong. Punished for my hubris. So yeah, our roadmap for this stream is probably to... what are we going to do? I think we're probably going to finish up here, talk about the sort of wider implications of this area with regards to the narrative of the rest of the game, and then probably going to go and have a chat with Alfred, and then that'll give us quite a lot to talk about actually. Alfred's role in this game is a lot bigger than I originally gave him credit for. Sadly, not the blood echoes I wanted. I'm going to leave those pebbles because they're pebbles. Kite this pig, as is my wont. Stairs and visceral attacks, they don't mix. Ow! Big damage. I did know you could get 500 bits for $1. Thank you for mentioning Megaspell. It's oh, look at this. Oh, just get your whole hand in there. There you go. Kill them good. Nice. Okay, for real this time. Let's try and get what's over there. So I guess apart from as well, like apart from being an interesting conveyance to this particular area of the game, like it's kind of fairly, like at least at this point, difficult to intuit what on earth the Bagman's deal is. Like, why exactly are they wandering around in the cathedral ward, bagging people? Like, I mean, they throw you into this jail, but it's not super clear at this point anyway why they're doing that. And like, I don't know, that's interesting and cool. It's like it adds a mystique to this part of the game. Like, it adds a layer to it, I guess, that thus far was not present. I think that's cool. Plus, I guess I mentioned it the first time we got here, but it's super cool to me to subvert the normal Soulsborne death pattern, which is that you die and you immediately expect to, you know, respawn and then go and have another go at it. And with the Bagmans, they're like, no, you're over here now, and you've lost access to your bonfire. But yeah, so this first thing that we came for was this, the Sonitrus, which is a weapon that I think we had an option to use, but we probably won't be. Yeah, so a trick weapon contrived by Archibald, an infamous eccentric of the Healing Church Workshop. So basically, it's like a flail, or sort of maul, I guess, that exudes electric. Can we equip it? We can. So yeah, instead of a regular transformation animation, it does this, which imbues it with electric for a while, and then stops. And you can do it again, and stuff like that. And you basically do, I think is it arcane damage while it's equipped? Bolt damage, which is its own type of damage. So yeah. Dean in the chat says it's a trick weapon in that the trick is that it hurts a whole bunch, and that is completely true. It's cool as heck. Oh my gosh, Funkstar's in the chat. Hey, Funkstar. Yeah, no, I said it. I knew it wasn't a flail as soon as I said it, actually. But I'm sticking with maul. I'm not going to mace. I'm going with maul. But yeah, so this is a cool thing because I don't know if anyone remembers, but when we were here last, we investigated sort of over that way a bit, and we found a boss that was covered in electric. And this weapon is a miniaturization of that same phenomenon, which I think is really cool. Like it shows that it shows that like the Healing Church, at least at some point, was interested in, you know, replicating and sort of miniaturizing arcane and otherwise strange phenomena, which, as we've seen with the magic being cast by the strange mushroom men in the Forbidden Woods, or kin, as I will call them from now on, like that is actually something they have not insignificant history with. So we're just going to... So this is another interesting thing that I think, you know, you should probably, like, this should set your mind going, I guess, because, like, well, sorry, just, we can't open this gate, right? And it's a big gate, it's covered with flora, and there are these people who are sort of prostrate before it. I mean, they're dead, obviously, but they're prostrate before it, like they're praying to it. And that in itself is sort of a kind of ominous and worrying structure in the sort of general scheme of Bloodborne. And I pick them up because I'm a silly fool who can't resist shiny objects. But each of these had a Madman's Insight on them. And they, you know, which I think the game directly states is the crystallized essence of, yeah, the skull of a madman touched by the wisdom of the great ones. Like, you know, you die crazy, and your skull, you gain knowledge of like the outer world, and you end up crystallized in this sort of weird, you know, elder skull dealy, and they all got that from sort of looking at whatever is on the other side of this sealed door, and that's cool. Also, Yahar Ghul gear, which identifies this place as a place that we'll later come to call Yahar Ghul. But yeah, and the last thing that I wanted to note, and one of the reasons actually that I thought it was worth coming down here in the first place is this note here. Now, for reasons that will become clear in a minute, I'm going to look this way while we read it. Behold, a pale blood sky. Now that is interesting, right? Because pale blood was one of the very first words in the game that we read. The note inside Yosefka's clinic, where we awoke just after our blood was ministered and that dog caught fire, said, "Seek pale blood to end the hunt," or something to that effect. It definitely mentioned pale blood. And in the context of the clinic, the blood ministration, pale blood, what we couldn't possibly know what it meant, right? But with this note here, and all of the sort of the characteristics of the notes that we've seen beforehand, it recasts the idea of what the pale blood might even mean. And when you look at the sky, what would you say about that sky? It sure does have a full moon. What connects? Oh, we've lost the Wi-Fi connection again. Rats. So, what connects the moon to blood? I mean, the moon is certainly pale. I mean, I guess it's bright, but it's not dark either. So you could call that pale. What's bloodied about the moon? What does that even mean? What secrets do you hold, the moon? We shall of course find out. But this is something I missed on my first run through this, as in, I didn't get to talk about it on the stream on my first run through this area, and I think it is super important because it is the first nudge towards the idea of what pale blood actually is, because you spend most of this game seeking it without any real idea what it could be. So people in the chat are talking about the Dark Beast, Dark Friend, and I think if this stream ends up hurting for a boss to fight, I might have a pop at the Dark Beast. Because I actually have very little experience with that boss fight, so we shall have to see. Now, I think it's 2 more levels until we can wield our katana, and it's actually possible we might be able to get there using this wealth of bloodstone shards we no longer need. Because they sell for about 200? Yeah. So if we sell all of those, we get a whole chunk of souls. So, Echoes even. So I am going to... Oh no, she's down here, isn't she? I am going to level up once, and let's see how much it takes to level up a second time. Okay, 15,683. Right. So that would be nearly all of our bloodstone shards, but as established, we don't need them. We can get more at the drop of a hat, and we might not ever even need them. So I think it's probably more like this, but yeah. So second level up. More blood tinge, more blood tinge. It's all blood tinge all the time from here on out, unless like I get really tilted fighting a boss and decide we need more vitality. All blood tinge all the time. Because, as noted by our diligent stream chat, in its upgraded state, the Chikage boasts an utterly ludicrous scaling rate with our blood tinge. I think it might even go higher than that. But yeah, feast your eyes, friends, on katana. Might look unassuming, might just look like a regular ass sword, and indeed, you'd probably be right. It certainly is a sword, although I don't really want to live in a world where katanas aren't cool, and this one's pretty cool. Well, it's sort of like, I guess the grip is not very katana-like. It sort of looks very much like, it looks very much like a sort of Japanese, a Japanese concept artist's vision of like a knight's sword. I'm into it. I like it a lot. But so we've got a long reach, but fairly slow attacks. I'm into this. It's like, it's very wide. It thrusts. It's good. But we press transform and ooh, we get a blood sword, which is not only cool as shit, but as you can see in the top left corner, is gradually draining our health. And if there's one thing I'm extremely weak to, it is sort of katana attack patterns that involve sort of comically over sheathing your sword midway through. That's cool as heck, and I'm so here for it. So yeah, this is the Chicago. I'll probably test it out actually on our way through the Cathedral Ward, but I'm unlikely to get right on it immediately. But by next stream, it will be our 100% of the time weapon. So yeah, let's go to the Cathedral Ward, is what I'm going to say, and go and have a chat with our friend Alfred, who, even though we have been pretty neglectful of him, is still friends with us. So yeah, as we go and have a chat with Alfred, as we go and have a chat with Alfred, hold in your head this idea of Logarius as a zealot, as a member of the Executioners, as someone whose deepest desire it is to extinguish the vile bloods and obtain the purity that his church so richly desires. Oh, I've just realised one of the things that I wanted to go back to the Hypogean jail for. We'll go back there if we have time. Why do we not heal on teleport? That's so annoying. Anyway, let's see how much damage we do. What's our backstab animation like? Oh, it's quite slow. Wow. That's a very cool animation. I like that a lot. That's like such a sort of... That's a very all-in attack thrust. I'm into it. Ooh. That's not weak, certainly. Oof, I like that. I like that a lot. Oof. Oof. Painting with very broad strokes with this weapon. I'm very into it. I like how, I guess a lot of good like sword or katana movesets will have strikes which like sweep out from or towards your feet, and that's really cool. That like it covers a very wide range of like, I don't know, it's like it sweeps in a very, very satisfying way. I like it a lot. So yeah, hopefully our friend Alfred is over this way. Oh yeah, here's a fun thing. So when we defeated Vicar Amelia over in the Grand Cathedral, touching the skull not only taught us the password of the Bergenworth School, their mantra, Fear the Old Blood, it also advanced the night, making it like darker and sort of later, I guess. And a fun consequence of that is that these giants go to sleep, which I think is really neat and cute and kind of fun. Fortunately, it means that one is right in the way, but can we just walk past? Oh, we totally can. Sleep well, giant. Sleep well. Oh no, yeah, he's not getting up. Sleep well, giant. Sleep well. This fucking guy. I have a lot of love for this attack, sort of this moveset. I think it's very good. It's very flashy in the exact way I want it to be. Ah, here's our friend Alfred. So Alfred, in our previous meetings, I've purposefully not spoken to him very much, and we've not built a very strong impression of him. But let's just have a real think about Alfred, okay? One sort of meta-game piece of information I want to give out before we continue is that Alfred's voice actor is the same voice actor as Solaire of Astora from Dark Souls, which I think is really fun. They have fun parallels. They're both, they're clearly men of faith, in the sort of myriad complex ways that faith manifests itself in the Soulsborne series. Hey, look, is that a mark of the hunter on his chest? I think it is. But yeah. So yeah, same voice actor as Solaire, which I think is cool. Oh, Nate's in the chat talking about Bergenwerther's originals. Go on YouTube and search up Bergenwerther's originals if you don't know what that means. It's great. But yeah, so Alfred is a very friendly man who is clearly very much a member of the Healing Church. Now, we didn't do this, but if you summon him to fight the Bloodstarved Beast, he does so using the Kirkhammer, which is a sword which plugs into a huge tablet covered in religious scripture that you literally bash into your enemies' heads, which is a very heavy-handed but very, very cool and almost like verging on Warhammer kind of deal for this game, which I like a lot. But yeah, let's have a chat with Alfred.
Good to see you safe. Now, let's think up something to discuss. Just tell me what piques your interest.
So we are going to give him the unopened summons, as it turns out, but first we're going to talk to him about various other things.
As you know, the Healing Church is the fountainhead of blood healing. While I'm a simple hunter, quite unfamiliar with the ins and outs of the institution, but I have heard that the holy medium of blood healing is venerated in the main cathedral, and that councillors of the old church reside in the high stratum of the cathedral ward. If you seek blood healing, and the church is willing, you should pay them a visit.
Okay, so clearly not super well acquainted with the church itself, but his usage of like Healing Church weapons and his garb and his general mannerism, that was a weird flash, suggests that he possesses an affection for or admiration for them in some capacity. What does he have to say about Bergenwerth?
Place of learning, and the tomb of the gods, carved out below Yharnam, should be familiar to every hunter. Well, once a group of young Bergenwerth scholars discovered a holy medium deep within the tomb. This led to the founding of the Healing Church and the establishment of blood healing. In this sense, everything sacred in Yharnam can be traced back to Bergenwerth. But today, the college lies deep within a tangled wood, abandoned and decrepit. And furthermore, the Healing Church has declared Bergenwerth forbidden ground. It's unclear how many of its scholars remain alive. But only they know the password that allows passage through the gate.
So there he's talking about he talked about a number of things and expressed a sort of vague, affection for or appreciation for Bergenwerth. Now, what he's talking about, the Tomb of the Gods, is it's called the Thumerian Tomb, and it's what the Chalice Dungeons take place within. It's a labyrinthine place underneath Yharnam, in which, as he mentioned, Bergenwerth found what they originally called the Old Blood. Now, this is really interesting, right? Because as people who have been sort of sitting here confused about, the sort of the sequence of events that led to the current state of Yharnam in Bloodborne, this is really interesting for us, right? Because it shows us that a group of people with a name, Bergenwerth, found the Old Blood, which we have previously identified as a sort of thematic link to, your ancestry, a sort of knowledge and acceptance of your ancestry, right? Not only that, but we found that Master Willem, one of the members of the Bergenwerth scholars, in fact the sort of the grand scholar at the time of the vision that we saw, he fears the Old Blood, and he believes that for a variety of reasons we cannot, it's worth, by the gods, that we ought to fear it. Whereas his protege Lawrence was not so hot on this idea and thought that they should embrace the Old Blood. Now, this is again really interesting, right? Like, the idea that we have a group of people who a group of scholars who, upon discovering the sort of the reality and truth of their ancestry, split upon how to use it. One believes that it will lead to their ruin. One believes that it might lead to their salvation. That's really cool and interesting. But he also mentions that the school of Byrgenwerth is now overgrown in a wood, to which we will soon be going, I think. But what does he have to say about the Vile Bloods?
There's something I want to tell you. A bit of wisdom from the eminent master Logarius. Once,
He's not very good at reading the room, is he?
was at Byrgenwerth and brought forbidden blood back with him to Canehurst Castle. It was there that the first of the inhuman Vile Bloods was born. The Vile Bloods are fiendish creatures who threaten the purity of the Church's blood healing. The ruler of the Vile Bloods is still alive today. And so, to honor my master's wishes, I search for the path to Canehurst Castle.
So, Alfred considers Logarius a master, and not only that, he considers Logarius' mission to exterminate the Vile Bloods his mission. So, let's just say, having gotten the katana and the clothes and the crown from Canehurst, let's just say we were to give him the summons to Canehurst. What would he do?
Is that the sigil of Canehurst? I've heard tell of Canehurst nobles and their amusingly pompous invitations.
Again, can you see me?
I thank you profusely. I will depart immediately, but first, a token of my gratitude.
Now this is a very interesting visual motif that I think it's worth us investigating.
I feel my master's hand at work.
You have no idea how right you are.
The good blood. And let us cleanse these tarnished streets.
So again, he's immediately gone from, hello, how are you, to talking about good and bad blood and just being super psyched at the idea of cleansing the tarnished streets, which are, great and good things for a normal person to say. And can we get this last little shot? No, he keeps looking at me. What a villain. No, okay. I guess we're not going to get that sorted. Oh well. Never mind. So, we've given him the summons to Canehurst, so we can reasonably assume that that's where he's going to go next, right? Right? So, on the way to Canehurst, we're going to hop back to a lantern, and we're going to investigate this Wheel Hunter badge, because what does it have to say for itself? So the badges, as we know, they unlock weapons for you to buy in the workshop. Well, where is it? A key item? Yes, Wheel Hunter badge. So a Wheel Hunter badge from the church's secret workshop. Marty Logarius led a band of executioners, and this badge was crafted at their dedicated workshop. The wheel symbolizes righteous destiny. Their workshop was a secretive enclave of mystical beliefs and heady fanaticism which served as the backbone of the executioner's unique brand of justice. Now, a wheel badge, eh? I wonder what kind of justice they could be talking about. We're just going to run past this friend this time. Sorry to wake you up. We won't kill you, I promise. As long as you leave me alone. Yeah, there you go. Go back to sleep. Oh, I'm a big fan of this katana. So yeah, back to the chapel, back to the dream, and then we're going to see what exactly this Wheel Hunter badge gives us access to. what else but Logarius' wheel. Now, a weapon wielded by Martyr Logarius' band of executioners used to slaughter the vile bloods in Canehurst, bathed in pools of their blood and forever steeped in their ire, transformed to release the power of the wheel and manifest their lingering rage in a show of utter brilliance. Now, this actually I really like as imagery for use in this game. I don't think actually we're going to be able to get one because it requires us to have 20 strength and 10 arcane, which is like stats we're just not going to put the time into getting. But we get to talk about it as it is here anyway. So, yeah, do we want to talk about this now? Yeah, so Logarius' wheel is imagery from as a torture device that with recorded use that dates back to about the 6th century, called a breaking wheel, where people found guilty of particularly serious crimes would be tied to a wheel and just smashed, just completely smashed, like literally broken against the wheel. And the thing about the breaking wheel is that like it was reserved for crimes that the societies that used it deemed truly irredeemable. So if you were to be tried by the breaking wheel as a capital punishment, there were degrees of punishment. So in the French communities in which its early dated use was found, you were either given what they called a coup de grace, or as you would say in English, a blow of mercy, and that would be them breaking your neck first. If you were convicted of a truly terrible crime, they would break you bottom up and leave you tied to the wheel, sometimes for weeks. So like, this imagery is deeply evocative of just ceaselessly cruel and brutal torture that had been around in older societies for a really long time. And like, the use of this imagery, we will find out, is deliberate, because we're going to go to Canehurst and we're going to see that Alfred's maybe not the nicest guy in the world. Oh, hang on. I could have gone straight to Logarius' hidden place. I'm just going to dip back because, I could run. I'm not going to run. Logarius' seat. There we go. Chat has pointed out that, of course, as with everything in Soulsborne, breaking wheels featured heavily in Berserk, and yes, that is exactly the kind of imagery that Berserk and consequentially Soulsborne likes to draw upon, is this idea of Berserk is super into the kinds of imagery of just how fucking horrible everything was in the sort of I guess it would be just the sort of the turn of the first millennium AD, just like horrible things were done to people all the time for at times like flimsy pretext reasons. So has Alfred made it to Canehurst? Come on. So, yeah. So Alfred has arrived at the court of Queen Annalise. He has destroyed her body. There's her helmet on the floor. Destroyed her body with his breaking wheel. Wearing that, by the way, that gold pointed hat is an executioner's hood. So he has become an executioner. He's an executioner cosplayer in his spare time. And he has shattered her body with his breaking wheel. Now, and in doing this, he says that Logarius can become a true martyr. So he has identified, as we have, that Logarius is dead, but that he had not achieved his goal of killing all of the Vilebloods. But Alfred has achieved it for him. In his eyes, making it so that history will see that Logarius succeeded through him. And he's pretty happy about this. But this is not actually where the story of the Canhurst Vilebloods ends, because it turns out that there is a reason that, I mean, apart from just this sort of imagery of needless brutality and just unbridled violence, there is a reason that the executioners sent to cleanse the Vilebloods used these blunt force weapons that could never hope to like surgically cleave or cut, but only to smash and crush. And if we look at this chair, you might see why. Key items. Queenly flesh. What remains of Annalise, Blood Queen of Canehurst? This pinkish lump of flesh remains warm, as if cursed. All hail the undying Queen of Blood. This bit here, see, the remains of her flesh, they writhe eerily. See, this here is, this is why Logarius was frozen to the roof of Canehurst Castle. This is why everyone believed the Vilebloods to be extinct. Because having led his brutal purge, having killed all of the Vilebloods in the castle court, as we saw all of their souls. We killed some of their souls. He came here to the court of the Queen, tried and failed to kill her, found that she was undying, couldn't die, and in doing so, in his shame that he could never be martyred, he could never die to achieve his goal, he could never achieve his goal, he chose to freeze himself to the roof of the castle and shroud this keep from view, therefore hiding his mistake, his failure, from everyone in the world. Alfred, of course, does not know this. Alfred has no knowledge of the fact that the flesh he has so gorily mauled still lives. But as the last remaining survivor of the Canehurst Vilebloods, there is something that we can do about it. Not right now, in fact not for some time, but there is something that we can do about it. But so we're going to leave Alfred now in blissful ignorance of the fact that he totally hasn't done it. But so that's kind of that. So this is us now, Jane Bloodborne, the last Vileblood. Is there anything else in this room? I don't know. So this has got to make you think, right? Like this, I mean, I know I've talked about how both the Healing Church and the Vilebloods occupy similar spaces in terms of power hierarchy. Oh my gosh, Rob, thank you so much for the bits. Wow, everyone's so generous with the bits. It must be because Amazon are giving them out super cheap. But yeah. This also, what's up, dog? But so we talked about before how the Canehurst Vilebloods. I'm going to go back to saying Canhurst because I can't keep up this brutal charade. The Canhurst Vilebloods and the Healing Church, they occupy similar sort of spaces in Yharnam's greater power hierarchy, and I have previously been chastised for in the same breath expressing a vague sympathy for them and noting that they are coded as obscenely wealthy. And I guess the reason for that is the way in which this game casts the opposition to them, right? Like, the thing is that the Healing Church like has identified that the Vilebloods, they stand to occupy a similar place in the overall power hierarchy, right? Like they use the sort of the magics that tampering with your blood affords you, but they use them in different ways, and they use them in ways that undermine the Healing Church's power hierarchy, right? Because the Healing Church's power hierarchy is based on shame, it's based on repression, and it's based on the appearance of humbleness, whereas the Vilebloods is completely opposed to that. But the Executioners are an even uglier side to the Church, because they show that when a threat to their dominance is like presents itself, when a threat to their state in the world, when a threat to their position on the ladder presents itself, then all bets are off. They will forge a workshop in secret, they will train an entire caste of warriors, and they will abandon all of their principles to just completely obliterate it. And even though the power structure that the Canna's Vilebloods represent is ultimately anti-worker, like they've simply been crushed by another ultimately more powerful power structure. They've been just eaten by someone higher up in the hierarchy. And I think we can conclude this plotline if we go back to the Cathedral Ward. Everyone keeps using the word lore, and it makes me sad. Like, I know that I have talked quite a lot about the hidden between the lines plot in this episode, but I really much rather talk about like themes and the themes that lore implies than just the lore itself. Obviously, if you like lore and you come to this stream for lore, great. Thanks for coming. I love having you. Nobody made me sad, Funkstar. It's okay. Funkstar is in the chat trying to admonish the rest of the chat for making me sad. I'm not sad. I'm just, it's a taxonomy thing. It's always a taxonomy thing. All of my problems are taxonomy based, and really I should get over myself. So Alfred, in his extremely limited knowledge of how anything in the world works, really, and also his total inability to examine the still pulsating remains of the queen he's brutalized, I guess it must be difficult to see through that helmet, he believes himself to have succeeded where his master failed, successfully martyring his master and setting the historical record straight, as it were. Can you just not? Oh, I love this katana a lot. Man, I talked about it before, but like by virtue of having so much fewer weapons than Dark Souls, every single weapon in this game just bangs. It's so cool. Every single weapon is just so cool. And it can be, because they have the design resources for that now. Like, I think I will always prefer fewer, cooler weapons. So, is Alfred to be found down here? If not, I think I know where he's gone. Okay, so Alfred has not returned to his spot outside of the entrance to the Forbidden Woods. Interesting. So, where could he have gone? because he's certainly not still in Canehurst. Why would he stay there? All of the ghosts of the Vilebloods just screaming at him all the time. That would suck. Can I leave? Yeah, cool. Right, so Megaspell is in the chat talking about, like, I guess choice paralysis, decision paralysis, where a game gives you so many options that, like, picking one from all of them becomes a sort of a mammoth, overwhelming task. And Dark Souls can, at times, definitely become that. Especially when these games, for reasons that I still think are pretty bad, require you to, like, invest in upgrading your weapon in order to get the most out of it. But I think Bloodborne ends up with, like, a lot better for that, because, like, all of the times I've played through Bloodborne, I've just done it playing the weapon that I thought looked coolest. Because even with the Threaded Cane, a weapon I've since found out is comparatively quite weak, like, that's still fine, because you can just run with that, because like, this game is so cool in that way. Like, it permits you to do that in a way that is very satisfying and good. Now, where is Alfred going to be? Is he going to be in Old Yharnam, where we found him near the Blood-Starved Beast? I think he might be. Let's go and have a look. If anyone actually knows where, if anyone seriously knows where Alfred is, feel free to drop it in the chat, because I'm just sort of educated guessing at the moment. Let's go this way. Oh, yeah, we never resolved our dispute with the old hunter Jura, so still going to be machine gunning us. But look, the colour palette here has completely changed because the moon is gone. The low, or I guess it's the low sun from before, is gone, and the light source has changed completely. It means you see this area in literally a completely different light, and I like that a lot. Hello, goodbye. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, this is gonna suck. Oh. Sorry for everyone who hasn't seen the old Yharnam episode, but we are definitely rushing at this point. That's the shortcut we were looking for. And so there was a little shrine here that our friend Alfred was very fond of. I wonder if he will have returned to it. I hope he will, because otherwise I don't know where he is. Is it higher up, maybe? Ugh. No poison, please. No, it was definitely around here somewhere. I'm gonna go and try and find it. Maybe not this way though. Bloodborne. Why you gotta do me like this? Yeah, no, it's not this way at all, is it? Yeah, so Eshalar, I know he's at the altar where I first found him. The problem is I don't remember where that is. So if you've got the wiki open, you could just drop that in the chat. That would be great, because I can't access a computer while I'm streaming, because the stream setup is ass. And shall remain ass for the foreseeable future. Down from the Cathedral Ward Lantern. Oh, right, so between here, between the entrance to Aljanum and the Cathedral Ward Lantern. Gotcha, okay. Okay, we should be back there fairly soon. Would it be faster if... No, you can't... Oh, can you get back up there? I think you can. Let's investigate, shall we? So yeah, yeah, I'm just really interested in concluding Alfred's plotline because I think it is a really interesting ending to this whole thing. Oh, Nelly, we're going to get some good-ass damage out of this sword. I can feel it. So yeah, this is neat. I think one of the reasons I think this is so neat is that, narratively speaking, there's no reason for you to come back here once that you've like done everything here and beaten Vicar Amelia and advanced the night. Like, there's just no reason for you to come here. But it's cool that they've consistently kept up the aesthetic change anyway. I like it. Rude. So, yeah, we're gonna go this way. Did we get everything here last time? I think so, yeah. Back to our creepy statue catacomb. Ah, it's our old friends, the Yana mob. Remember these folks? They die in one hit now. Feel old yet? Okay, so somewhere between here and Old Yharnam, I guess. Is it up there, maybe? Let's have a look-see. There's another bagman there. Let's leave him to his bag duties. There we go. That's more like it. Aha! There it is. So, at the shrine at which we first met him, Alfred has returned. Or has he? Dead. Wearing his executioner's hood. With someone else's crown? I mean, I guess it's meant to be Logarius' crown, but I'm definitely still wearing it. Anyway, yes. So, he's built his shrine, his executioner's shrine, into a shrine to Logarius with that crown. And what has he dropped? A radiance rune. And a radiance rune. That was weird. Why are there two? Cool. Anyway, so this represents the conclusion of Alfred's storyline in this game and the conclusion of the role of the executioners in this story. Having achieved what he believed to be his own and the conclusion of Logarius' goal, Alfred has killed himself on this altar. He believes to his utmost in the ideals of the executioners, which are to first kill vile bloods and second kill yourself. Become martyred in the search for purity and the search to achieve your goal. Like, the game goes to great lengths to sort of highlight this as myopic, because not only did Logarius ultimately decide that his martyrdom would not achieve anything. He couldn't achieve anything. He couldn't martyr himself because he couldn't achieve his goal, because his goal was by definition unachievable. But Alfred was so drunk on an imagined vengeance and rage that he's come here and killed himself anyway. Now, there are a whole host of other reasons that maybe Alfred could have killed himself. He could just fucking hate living in the world of Bloodborne, and let's be honest, who wouldn't? But I couldn't actually get a good look at it, really. But another thing about Alfred is that his eyes are starting to, if you can look at them with the monocular, I think it is, you can see that his eyes are starting to. You see how this iris here is decayed, indicating the onset of the Scourge of Beast, indicating the beginning of transformation, the warping and shifting of your body. You can see his eyes are starting to drift that way. So maybe Alfred knows that a beastly fate awaits him and seeks purification in the eyes of the Healing Church to avoid it. But this wider theme, this broader idea of deciding what the church will, believe for you is a noble goal, but this sort of wider theme of choosing what the church believes is a noble goal for you, dedicating yourself to it, and martyring yourself for that cause, dying having achieved the most noble possible goal, is something that you see a lot in religious fanaticism and zealotry in general, right? This idea that once you have achieved your ultimate goal, you once you've achieved your ultimate goal, you must die, because your life has achieved its singular purpose, and you're basically done here. And this is an attractive prospect to people like Alfred, to people like Logarius, because in life, in achieving this singular purpose that the church has deigned for them, they commit unbelievable acts of atrocity. They smash and crush a culture of people with blunt wheels, with their bare hands. They are bathed in the blood of the vile bloods and forever soaked in their ire. And this has obvious callbacks to a lot of people's vision of the religious crusades, of the Christian crusades into the lands what were crusaded on. It was particularly the People's Crusade, it was quite widely sold to these people that they could commit these atrocities. They could commit these acts of atrocity, these horrible, truly horrible things, because in doing so, they were enacting God's will, and in dying, they would achieve penance for their sins. They would achieve absolution, which, if you are someone, you know, who has been taught their whole life by the church that they are just doing the most sin by even being born, like, that's an attractive prospect. But also outside of the religious angle, just like dying knowing you did good is, for some people, an attractive prospect. And certainly for people like Alfred, for people like Logarius, who were eager to forsake their lives on these singular ideas, this was clearly an attractive idea. And the ability of religious institutions to, or, you know, I guess even just regular institutions of hierarchical power, to harness these notions of a noble death, to harness these notions of noble self-sacrifice, is unparalleled. And this game demonstrates that in a pretty strong way with this storyline. Not only that, but as we saw, it presents these things as myopic, because just like in real life, the vampire queen is immortal and will not die if you smash her with your wheel. So the chat has made a very good point, which is that encouraging your zealots, encouraging your militia of smashy wheel monks to die upon completion of their task solves two problems in one go, right? It means that your vile bloods are dead, your perceived outgroup are dead, and then it means that once the unbridled fury of your own making has reached its natural conclusion, it means that those bodies aren't left around to just smash things. Like, that rage begins and ends when you say it does, if you can convince these people to kill themselves afterwards, right? Like, if you can imagine a situation in which the executioners were, you know, led to destroy the vile bloods and not to kill themselves, like, you can imagine that the church would be concerned that they would have just another faction on their hands with a different, slightly fractured version of the church's beliefs, but their own incredible physical power. And contending with that is something that maybe the church does not want to have to deal with. And in encouraging the vile bloods to encouraging the executioners to martyr themselves, they avoid that, which I think is real interesting. Did we get any more of this? No. So I think we're some ways off another level up here, aren't we? Yeah, okay. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tie up one last loose end in the Hypogean jail, and then probably have a couple of pops at the Dark Beast, see if I'm completely outmatched. If I'm not completely outmatched, I'll probably try and kill it. If I am completely outmatched, I won't bother. And then we can begin next stream by getting back on track with the mainline plot, because yeah. Oh, thanks for the love in the chat, Mushroom Trip. It is great when people tell me I'm doing good. It's a lot of fun, so I'm glad it's you know, speaking to people. We get to road test our weapon against these things, which I'm interested in. Ooh, not a lot of damage there, huh? Yeah, I think at the moment we've got the problem that our individual strikes are like in the same ballpark as our previous weapon, but they're slower. So I think I might switch back for now. But I fully intend to begin next stream with a much stronger katana. Because for anyone who was here for the Forbidden Woods episode, saw that by the end of that it was clear we were maybe not doing as much damage as we could have been. Or as the game wanted us to, I would say. Fuck. There we go. I came out here completely on autopilot. This is not actually even where we're going. That did not look like a backstab, but okay. Oh, jeez, that's a lot of damage. Yeah, we're actually we're going to go in the complete opposite direction. We're going to plunge further into the depths of the jail itself. Down these cool layered staircases. So the first thing we're going to do is return to the actual jail part that we woke up in when we were first bagmanned. For anyone who remembers, we woke up here, having been placed here by a bag friend. And we came down here into this room, which is a sort of... And this lady's text came up on the screen. And shocked by our terrifying visage, she refused to speak to us. Which, you know, I can understand. I'm kind of covered in blood and wearing a crown and sort of dinner jacket, or sort of like, you know, I look weird. But she happens to be, well, look at her. She looks like a nun. She looks like a nun with a cool hat. And what do we know about nuns? They like the church. So let's pretend we're with the church. Why not? And see what she has to say then.
By your God, the healing church. You've come to save me. Oh, thank you, dear saint. I have no words to express my relief. You can take this at least.
Have this skull.
Please understand a member of the church like you. Oh, thank you so much, dear gods. Thank you so much. I was seized on the street by the hulking brute in the cathedral wall and locked up here. Never many of his equipment's been taken away. And I've heard moans echoing in the distance ever since.
So yeah, so that's what the bagmans were doing. They were taking the prisoners somewhere, but we don't really know where. And she's heard moans in the distance.
The hunt is on tonight.
It is. It kind of really is.
It's perilous, and every door will be shut tight. That isn't my place to ask, but do you know somewhere that might take me in?
It just so happens that we do know somewhere that might take you in, and it sure ain't Yosefka's clinic.
Thank you so much. I'll set out as soon as I can. I pray for success in your hunt. Kind hunter.
So this, I do believe, is Adela, the nun, who will take up residence in the Erden Chapel and is one of our rescued people. Let's get changed back super quick. Yes, so we've rescued her. Good for us. Yes, so a lot of A names. We've found, what is it? Ariana, Annalise, Adela. So yeah, lots of A names. But yeah, she will go back to the Erden Chapel and, much like Ariane, offer us her blood. However, we probably won't take it because we're not. We've got plenty of blood. Cool. Yeah. If anyone knows anything about me, it's that I'm a kind hunter. I mean, no one's heard anything about Eileen recently, have they? No one. Good. Great. So yeah, let's plunge further into the jail's depths and see what our friend the Dark Beast has to say for himself. Wow, you just didn't shout for your pal there, did you? Now, I think there are a couple of Bagmans in there, which is fine, I think. Oh yeah, they're definitely going to see me, huh? Yeah. Oh, easy there. That jump does like most of my health. I'm not into it. Ugh. Fucking owning me through the cage wall. Oh. I'm getting backed into this corner. That's not what I want. Oh, I've literally got too many pebbles. That's hilarious. No, come on, not like that. No! There we go. Whew. Got there. I'm not going to bother with these friendos because we're going to go through this wall. And investigate that mound of wires over there. Now I have literally no idea how to fight this boss. I've only ever done it when gratuitously overleveled, so who knows how it's going to go. But look at that design. Four. It's a big old werewolf skeleton covered in electric. It's like maybe as metal, none more metal, I think, is how much more metal that could be. No, that's not too much damage. Oof. Wow, it's currently playing quite a good keep away. I've forgotten what it's like to fight a boss you're at the right level for. So I don't know if this is that. Okay. Yeah, I think we could have one more try at that. No, for real, Deanie, I literally have too many pebbles, like it refused to let me pick up the pebbles. I have more pebbles than a human can hold in their hand. Just gonna ignore these bags, man. Can we... I'm not gonna take the risk of trying to dash past this trap. I'm just gonna spring it. But I am gonna avoid these bags, man, if I can, because heck the bags, man. Bye, guys. Ooh, no. There we go. That's a good sound. I'm well into that. The sound design in this game is astonishing. I just love it. And I don't know how much of it I should talk about because I've turned it quite low down to stop it from spiking over my voice while I'm streaming, but it's good. It's real good. What up, shock dog? Oh, that was a bad dodge. That was actually a fine dodge? Why did I take so little damage there? Whoop. Oh, ow. Whoop. Ah. Well, that was bad. I just didn't end up dodging there. It was kind of weird. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a few more goes at this, and then what starting that boss fight has done is it's enabled another little story vignette that I'm interested in showing everyone. So I'm gonna. So maybe one or two more tries at this boss, depending on how well it goes. Uh-oh. Oh, they got me. Well, they didn't actually get me, but they would have got me. Goodbye, bags, man. Yeah, this is an angry dog, huh? Not the goodest of boys. Ugh, I hate bosses that aggressively backdash. Makes whacking them in the legs very difficult. Ow. Uh-oh. Backdash, backdash. Oof. Oh, wow, completely owned, holy shit. I love how fluid the motion on this boss looks. Coupled, the way that its frame moves, coupled with all of the flowing fibers of its hair and the shocks, make it look like almost a completely, liquid boss. I really, really like that. Ow, rude. Is there anywhere I can attack it where my attacks won't whiff because it's too high up? Ugh. Rude. I think I'm suffering from weapon not very long syndrome. I think I'm going to switch to my slightly longer weapon to have a better chance of hitting its high up hurt box. Whoop, that was bad. We backdash in. We love backdash. That's what I should have called this stream, Jane Bloodborne's House of Backdash. What's happening? Oh, I'm winning! I love winning. Oh, no need shock to fight. Oh, that's a lot of damage. Okay. Am I like super not bolt resistant? Should I put on some bolt resistant clothes? I know I said I was committed to this clothes thing, but what can I say? I'm a hack. A talentless hack. Oh, this is a decent bolt resistance. I mean, this is better, but this is a really good defensive cloak, huh? But very little frenzy resistance, which makes a kind of sense. I think we might be back on the white church garb for this one, folks. Just for the extra 90 bolt resistance, which is not none. Well, it's not 90 either, but you know, it's some. I don't know. I don't know how much I care about bolt resistance actually, because taking that attack from 70 to 60% doesn't seem like it will do too much for me. Also, chat is suggesting I remove the lock-on to hit the back legs, and I'm not good at Bloodborne. I use lock-on as a crutch, so I'll try, but I can't make any promises. I think, considering the ultimately marginal improvement that more bolt resistance will give me, and the not marginal difference in my play on how fly I look, I think I'm just going to leave the knight's clothes on. It'll be a cold day in hell before I take this crown off again. Ugh. Ugh, that's so much. Stupid shock dog. Heal. Wow, I do not have a lot of stamina, do I? Uh-oh. Oh, that did less for some reason. It's kind of weird. So this boss makes super cool use of that mechanic I was talking about before that is big. I talked about it when we were fighting Vicar Amelia, where it has multiple breakable hit zones, the reward for building up damage on which is like getting a huge attack window, which is like one of this game's many cool ways of making monster bosses super cool and interesting, which, as we also have discussed, is a problem with the original Dark Souls, is that monster bosses are not super cool and interesting, or certainly cannot be. Oh, Jesus! That seemed very powerful. Interesting. Okay, well, I think I've tried that enough times. I think I'll come back next week when my blood sword is a lot stronger. But, as I mentioned, activating that boss fight has given us access to another fun little story vignette, which I'm going to do, because it's something I like a lot. So we're going to go throwback all the way back to the Church of the Good Chalice. at the very heart of Old Yarnum. Yes. Now, cast your mind back to many, many, many streams ago, when we first came to Old Yarnum. We saw a little glimpse of it when we came here about 20 minutes ago, but Old Yarnum is a place being guarded by the old hunter Jura. Now, he sits atop a building, firing on anyone who dares approach with a chain gun. But when we first approach, he says, "Leave this place. There's no need for you here. The monsters, the creatures here, they mean no one any harm." Now, obviously, they they attack us as soon as we go near them. But his wider point is that if left alone, the creatures of Old Yarnum really are no actual threat to anyone, and he protects them with his big old minigun, or I guess just a regular Gatling gun. So we're going to go and pay our friend Jura a visit, while taking extra special care not to attack any of the monsters. The other things about Jura is he demonstrates knowledge of hunters and of the hunt. And we want to sort of see what he means on those topics, I guess. And hopefully, if I've done this right, it'll be the second time I've done it wrong if I'm doing it wrong. But if I've done this right, we'll be able to say hi. God, I hope this works. And it has.
Well, how did you get in here? It's no matter. What brings you to Old Yarnum? I've no interest in matters further up. But you must not disturb this place. Beasts do not venture above, and mean no harm to anyone. If you still insist on hunting them, then I will hunt you first. You understand me?
I like the verbosity of this choice. But we're going to spare the beasts of Old Yarnum.
Very good. I no longer dream, but I was once a hunter too. There's nothing more horrific than a hunt. In case you fail to realize, the things you hunt, they're not beasts. They're people. One day you will see. It's time you got going. But first, a farewell gift. I have no use for it anyway.
So we get access to a cool gesture. Can we access our gestures from here? No. How do we actually access gestures? Is it switch? Whoa. For when our swag is on point. So yeah, if I'd done him earlier when I could have done him at the earliest, Jura, in addition to Eileen, who we so cruelly killed, is one of the first characters in this game who seems to be uniquely possessed of a conscience, right? Like, normally when you're playing through this game, you don't have me waffling on endlessly about how the Yarnumites are clearly people and how the beasts are, and sort of the monsters are clearly deformed Yarnumites. But Jura is effectively the first person to say in English words that the people who you are hunting here are not beasts. The creatures that you are hunting here are not beasts, but in fact people. Now, from what we've said about our earlier streams in Old Yarnum, we've explored the idea that Old Yharnam represents a history, like an immediate history that Yharnam has left behind, and a representation of the cycle of marginalization and oppression of lower class people that it has found itself relying on to maintain its current structure. And Jura represents a figment of that system of repeated marginalization, that has uncovered this history, has uncovered the true nature of this history and its relation to the present, and decided that these people, though warped and changed beyond recognition, beyond even their own vision of personhood, he has decided that they are worth protecting. That even though they are monstrous, even though they are literally poisonous, they are worth protecting in his eyes, and he will do so, warding off any hunters with his big old Gatling gun. Now, I really, really like this because it ties together a lot of the ideas that we've been talking about in a really sort of succinct way, and it gives us and it also gives us a look at the relationships of former members of these class hierarchies, and how you might gain an enlightened perspective on them. So in this analogy, the hunters are basically cops, right? They're given their orders by people who basically tell them not to think about it. Just get in there and start killing. Do as much killing as you feel you need to, and just do a whole bunch of killing. Don't think about who you're killing. Don't think about whether you should be killing them. Just do it. Do it a lot. Eventually it'll be easy. Just keep going. So Jura represents a hunter who has come from that and he has experienced Yharnam, and he has decided that no, these are people. These are not, I cannot bring myself to kill these people. He can bring himself to kill people who wander in here to kill the beasts. He can bring himself to protect what he perceives to be the naturalistic innocence of these old Yharnamites to defend themselves. Whereas the hunters who come in here to kill them, he believes they have, he believes they are capable of knowing better, and he enforces that belief with this Gatling gun. And this is really cool, right? Because all the hunters that we've seen, again, apart from Eileen, who I so cruelly murdered, all the hunters that we've seen have been, like Gascoigne, driven to insanity with this bloodlust. They have let themselves be completely consumed by the desire to kill beasts, and in doing so become beasts themselves. Whereas Jura represents a different path. It represents a way in which a hunter can effectively evolve beyond the need for the hunt and just become a functional member of the Yharnam society, or I guess he represents a position outside of the power hierarchy that we have come to hate so much through our playthrough. Not only that, but this theme that I've been talking about so extensively in the previous streams of how this idea of xenophobia and what feel to some people like ordinary community values can warp and change you, make you monstrous, make you evil. Jura represents the idea that though these people do espouse bad ideology, though these people, through forces that are ultimately beyond their control, make the world a worse place to live in, he believes in their inherent humanity, and he fights to protect that inherent humanity. And the value of that inherent humanity is reflected in the serenity of Old Yharnam, as we can see from the top of this tower. Though we can still see these fires from, when this purge was fresh. Ultimately, there's no war here. There's no struggle. Just silence. Just a sort of a stable ecosystem, not really fighting amongst itself. And I think that is not only really cool, but I think it is a really cool place for us to end the stream. thank you everyone for coming. And I think this was a really good stream because we got to beat the Marty Logarius, who ailed us so good in the previous episode. But in this episode, we shanked him up, and he gave us eventually gave us a katana. He gave us a katana that does this sometimes. It's cool as hell. I love it. Not only that, but we talked a lot about Logarius' role in the world. We got a bit of Immortal Vampire Queen, all kinds of stuff. It was a fun time. It was such a fun time that I hope you come back next week for the next episode of Jane Bloodborne's House of Eyeballs, where we will get back on track with the main plot with a post-training montage, super souped up katana. But that's then, this is now. Thank you very much for coming to Jane Bloodborne's House of Eyeballs, and I will see you all next week.